Hi guys, happy Sunday. It's Clarice and I am just really quickly adjusting my screen here so we can get ready for our Sunday live. Um, as I'm adjusting, I'm just gonna wait for you guys to kind of come in and have some quick banter in the meantime. Hi Patty! Hope everyone is excited to paint. Today's like a perfect day to paint today because it's the first official snowfall for us here in Toronto, Canada. So it kind of looks like a really nice, pretty Christmas card outside. Not the best to drive in after months of not, I guess, being accustomed to the snow and driving in the snow. But yeah, c'est la vie. At some point it had to happen, and it's happening today. Cambridge, oh my gosh, Judy, I'm sure Cambridge is probably insane there because you guys get it worse than we do. So totally makes sense. I hope you're home and staying warm and safe and having some good hot chocolate or maybe even watching some Christmas movies or holiday movies. I'm just gonna quickly pull up my screen on here so I can see the live happening on my desktop. And this way I'm not missing anyone. Hi, Zanette. Patty, oh my gosh, can I just mail you some snow? I know someone mailed me some cotton ball seeds or cotton seeds, I guess you can call them. And I was so touched because I was like, yeah, can you mail me cotton? Sure. But I can't mail you snow. Maybe I can like send you a picture of snow or something. But okay, I'm just gonna quickly go on about what we're doing today. So this week, if you missed this week, I put out the video for the poinsettia, and this one is coming out tomorrow morning really early. I figured I'd catch all the hemispheres that are sleeping while I do my live. So this one, I really like the way this poinsettia turned out, and it's because I have been using, or I used the Radiant Concentrated Watercolor for this. So this is more pink than this one here, which this is more for red. But this is not what we're going to be doing today. I just figured I'd show you guys what we did this week before we kind of tackle and go into what we're doing today. So today I have something exciting. I figured we could do another ornament, and we're going to do the ornament, not a bauble, but it's going to be a piece of wood. So like one of those round little wooden planks, I guess you could call them. And we are going to paint something pretty on the inside, and we'll have a nice little ribbon. So I hope you guys are excited. I'm just going to quickly make sure that I have my wood reference open so then I can guide you guys in how that is turning out. So just give me a second there. Talk amongst yourselves while I quickly get this done. Okay, so I have my sheet ready. And before I kind of tell you about my colors and my paints, I'm just going to quickly take a look at comments again. Oh, great. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. Very nice. Thanks, Patty. This is a new nail color I just got because I don't know if you guys know, but we're going into lockdown tomorrow. And so today I ran over to Winners, which is kind of like your TJ Maxx. Well, yeah, it is owned by TJ Maxx, but yeah. And I got this lovely color, and it's a matte, but it's like a fluorescent pink. Love it. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing right now. All right, okay, so we're gonna start. I'm gonna tell you what brushes I'm using. I'm gonna be using the number 4 because it gives me good detail in the silver black velvet. I'll have the Princeton number 8 handy, and I'm definitely going to have the number 8 silver black velvet as well. And I don't know if I'm going to use the mop brush, but I'm just going to keep it on the side just in case. I have my palette ready. I have some water ready off to the side. I'm using my Canson watercolor paper for those of you who don't normally join in. And for colors, I'm using the St. Petersburg. I also have a pencil ready because we're going to do a base drawing really quickly for this, just so we know what's happening. So for the colors, I'm using the sepia. I have 3 browns here. You can get away with 2 browns. Get your Mars brown, which is like a nice light brown, and then I have the sepia, and I believe this one is, well, let's kind of mix those two up. I think it's the raw sienna. The raw sienna is the darker one, Mars brown is the lightest, and then the sepia is the darkest that I have here. So 3 browns. You can get away with 2, like I mentioned. And let's see. Oh, for my greens, I'm going to be using my green and the umber. And then finally for my reds, I'm going to be continuing with our pinky theme of, I believe this is the Madder Lake, which is like a nice pinky tone as opposed to like the full-on red. I think that's it, and we are ready to begin. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do our base drawing so we know exactly how big this wooden plank, I don't know what you want to call it, piece of wood, I guess, is, and the edges. And we also need to do a little fine detail about the center. So, okay, so let me just start. So I'm going to kind of create like a very rough round shape. And because this is like a piece of wood, the edges can be uneven, and have fun with the shape, I guess. For those of you who've actually made and created your own ornaments out of wood, because I know quite a few are handy that way and crafty. Feel free to kind of give it some interesting, I guess, shapes. And so this is my shape here, basic, right? And I'm going to then kind of figure out where I want to have my little hole so that the ribbon is in there. So I'm going to put that over here. And then I guess for the ribbon, it's going to be like a super fine, thin piece of ribbon. So we'll just do something that kind of comes out from here and just following the thinness of it. So just literally you're doing 2 lines side by side to kind of mimic that one string of ribbon, and then I'm just going to have it go down so it looks like it's going backwards and connecting. And again, this is a very light drawing, it's very loose, it's just to give us an idea of what is going where, so that once we start painting, we're not kind of painting over things. So this is it. And let's see, oh yes, so we're gonna have like an inner, like a border for this, because the outside's going to be darker, the inside's going to be a lot lighter. So we're mimicking the same shape. You can make it slightly more organic and maybe give it a crack here and there. So here and there meaning, hold on, let me just explain to you so it doesn't sound weird. But sometimes there's like a crack in the wood, so I'm just going to give mine one over here. So when I paint now, I'm just going to paint around this. I'm not painting it to seal this area. Feel free to kind of just keep it simple and go all the way around. But I'm just giving mine a little bit of character. And now I'm going to go ahead and add my layer of, I don't have the proper terms for these guys, but you know, this is going to be darker brown, and then the inside's going to be a lot lighter. So that's the very simplistic way of explaining what I'm doing here. So going all the way around. And I'll just end it there. And this is where there's the crack in the piece of wood. All right, okay. So for those who are just joining right now, we're doing a Christmas ornament, and we're just doing a base drawing really quickly. And it is going to be made out of wood, and then on the inside we're going to do like a fun floral or two. And I'm just gonna take a look at the comments really quickly before I start painting. Lots of great weather happening for a ton of you. Kind of jealous, but okay. Hey Jill, welcome. Okay, all right, so we're gonna start. So I am going to start off by using my number 8 Silver Black Velvet, and I'm going to start off by having the lightest shade of brown. So for me, that's going to be the Mars Brown, which is right here. So I'm just getting some of the Mars Brown, and I'm just going to mix a nice diluted version of that on here. And now once I have this, I'm gonna go ahead and start painting on the inside of our little drawing that we have here. So see how nice and straight and pointed the tip of the number 8 is. This is why I kind of like using it for areas like this where we need to have like a nice lay of color or dampness. So I'm just gonna go all the way around and dampen this whole area. And this is the lightest shade, so if it kind of gets in other crevices or areas, it's not a massive deal. So for instance, if you go over the ribbon, it's okay because the ribbon will be darker than this shade anyways. So just kind of keep going all the way around. Make this area nice and damp. I'm just kind of overlapping in these areas too because I feel like maybe it has dried up. Because we want this area to be damp so that when we go in with our darker color, we're getting some nice hues. So I'm just doing a light wash on the below area. Feel free to leave white space if you want in between. And now I'm just dipping my brush in water and just painting with whatever color I have in the center. And there we go, we have our nice little base. Then I'm gonna go in with my number 4, and I wanna get my second darkest color, which for me is, I believe, the raw sienna. And I'm going to go ahead and add color all the way around at the edge. And I'm gonna let it do its little spready thing and have that nice flare happening. So just kind of doing it roughly so that it kind of spreads while the area is still damp. There's my little crack in the piece of wood there. I'm just pushing some color around here, so kind of feel free to do that wherever you feel is necessary. That's what I'm doing here for mine. And now before this dampens, or sorry, dries up, I'm gonna go in and get my darker brown. And actually, before I get the darker brown, I'm gonna go back, get the number 8, get some water on it really quickly. And I just wanna try and drag some of this brown that we've laid down into the inner area. And all I'm doing is I'm just touching areas off it in hopes that it'll kind of blend into what we've already done. And it might work, it might not, but I can see for me it is kind of working. So it depends on the dampness that you have going on too. So now I'm gonna get my darkest color, which is the sepia. And I'm just going to, using the tip of my number 4, I'm just going to highlight the edges. I clearly need more color on here. So I'm highlighting the edges and it's giving me this really pretty stroke, but it's kind of blending into some of the areas that are still damp. So it's giving us that nice feel of wood, I guess you can say, because it's got that nice, here's a darker piece or area in the wood, and here it is blending in, or very organic is the word, I think. So you can see the edge really adds a lot of pop to it. And you could sort of sit and toil away the edge forever if you're one of those people who like perfects things or gets caught away in the detail, because it's a very satisfying thing to do. I'm not going to lie. Look at me. I'm going back and kind of doing the edges even more. And also just to see that blend is quite pretty. So I'm just getting some before the rest of this area kind of dries up. And gonna make sure that it's still there and catches that nice dark to light effect. And remember, as you're doing this, don't perfect the edges. Have it like not zigzaggy, but like uneven, so it gives you that nice raw feeling of I guess a wooden branch that's been cut. And then I just got to do this side. So now this side's clearly dried up, so you can see it's not giving me that nice blend like it is on this area here. I just messed up, so I made that area part of the circle too. All right, just gonna do a couple more here. Strokes here, just to kind of get it nice and blendy in there. And then we are good to kind of move on. Let's turn it back. So I like this. This is kind of pretty and nice and gives us that nice feeling of like, this is a piece of wood. Want to make sure that the inside is dried up before we kind of go in and create our florals in there. So in the meantime, I guess we could tackle the ribbon. And so I guess this takes a little bit of orchestration in terms of like planning out your colors. So since we're doing a lot of browns, this is a holiday Christmas kind of ornament. So I'm going to go ahead and make the ribbon a red, so, or the pinkish color, or actually, you know what, it might even be nice to do like a purple or like a deep red. So I think I will mix this Madder Lake with my violet and get like a purple, and this way it doesn't overpower with our red floral or pink floral in the center. So I'm just mixing some of that in here. And I'll get like a nice jewel tone. There we go. That's perfect. So I'm just going to take some of this color that we have and start painting. I just want to make sure that you guys can see my screen properly. Okay, perfect. And I'm just going to go ahead and start painting in our ribbon. Now you can be fancy and even make the ribbon striped if you want. If you try this again and you have different variations of this happening, definitely try the striped ribbon. Black and white might be a nice thing to do. Red and white, green and white, or if you want to go unconventional, not your typical, then you can go darker and get some other brighter colors maybe even. I'm just going to take a little bit of the purple and dab some at the tip here, just so that it looks like dark to light, shadowy kind of effect. And then for the back, we're going to take some of the same color that we've just done and mixed up and do the back of it. So super simple to do. Easy to execute. That was my phone. There we go. So because it's in the back, I want it to be, I guess, show like a shadow. So just, I've taken, using the tip, I've just taken a little bit of my violet and I'm just going to kind of mix it into this area while it is still damp. And just at the top as well. And then I'll just leave it as like so. And so now that this is done, we can kind of go ahead and tackle the center, which is going to be the main show for this painting, which is going to be the flower. So I did a rose recently, and I'm going to try and do that again. And that looks like this. And we have a mixture of, I believe, black and then the Madder Lake pink or red, whatever you want to call it. But if we have something like that on the inside and we have a couple of berries with some pine leaves and whatnot, I think it would be very pretty. So the key to this is making sure that we start off with our number 4 brush and getting a nice color. So I'm gonna mix the colors so you guys can watch me do it and do it yourselves. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some of my Madder Lake onto my palette. And it's this nice bright pinky red that we have going on. And once I have this, I am going to take a little bit of the sepia. Is it the sepia? Yes. And I just want to get some on my brush, and then I'm mixing it in with this. And it gives me like a warmer red. Now I'm using the sepia as opposed to the black, because over here clearly I've used the black, so it's given me a darker hue. The sepia might give me a lot lighter a hue, but I'm mixing some more of the red just to kind of bump it up. So let's see what happens. I'm experimenting with you guys again. All right, so using my number 4, I'm gonna go ahead and let's do the rose right in this area. My roses always end up ballooning and becoming big. So let's try and make this as tiny or small as possible. So starting off with a couple of strokes just like this, like comma strokes. And we're just kind of going around and alternating where we add these little strokes. And then just dipping the tip in water, and I'm kind of going slightly wider. And I think this is it. So now I'm going to go in with my number 8 silver black velvet, and with just water on it, I'm going to start creating strokes like this. So pretty much going over what we've done and trying to make these blend in. So just make sure you don't have too much water on your brush, but just enough, because if you have too much and it kind of connects with other areas, it might all get really blobby, and then you're kind of stuck with like one big blob of color. So make sure you have lots of white space in between as you're doing this. And you're blending things out. That's essentially what doing a rose is all about. And so it's coming along quite nicely. So I'm just going to make sure I've dabbed off most of my water, and I am just going to kind of continue creating a couple of strokes and just smoothing out the edges now at this stage, because I want it to be nice and smooth and just kind of like a dreamy rose on a piece of wood. So leaving it at that. And now I'm going to go back in with this brush, and I will actually get some of the color we've mixed up, and I'm just going to go ahead and add the same strokes over in the center that we did when we first started. And this is essentially so that we have that nice dark to light effect happening. And I'm just adding a couple of them on the outside as well. And so we can let this dry, and what'll happen is it'll dry a lot lighter, and if you find that you want to add more strokes, then you can definitely go in and add a couple of more, just to kind of give it more of that look. But I love how the rose has turned out. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the chat. I am now going to move on and do some of the greenery for this. And for that, I'm going to use my umber, which is right here. And I'm going to continue using the number 4. So I think I want to do pines first and then the floral. So I think before touching the green, I'm going to go ahead and get some of the sepia, and then just touching an area that's damp, I'm going to create a line, and this is going to indicate where I add my green strokes. And now, using this nice fine tip that we have happening, I'm just going to create, so literally I'm holding my brush up this way just to get the tip and the fine detail. And I'm just adding the strokes, and I love how it's kind of going into the red rose right now because it's blending in and it's still damp. So it's a super pretty effect. At this point, I'm just going to add a little bit of my green onto it, and I'm just going to add the same strokes happening. And then finally, what I want to do is just wash off the color and get some of that sepia again and just add it in the center, so that it kind of flares out and gives us a nice blend with the greens happening. Okay, so we're going to do another one over on this end. Obviously this one hasn't flared up because it's dried up compared to this area here. And then again, going in to get my umber, I'm going to go ahead and add my strokes. And remember, leave that white space, guys. I kind of like how this looks without adding the green, so you have that option to kind of keep it with just the umber instead of going and adding any more green. But again, it's up to you. I'm going to add the green just to make it consistent. Otherwise, it looks like One is evergreen and the other one is kind of dull and woodsy. So just leaving it. I'm just adding a couple of dots as well, guys. Remember my dots that I really love doing? I'm gonna add them in here because I think it'll go nicely with the whole woody wood effect that we have happening. And I think I'm right because I'm liking how this is turning out. So we're just doing a couple of dots here and there, and then I'll leave that. Okay, so we have that much happening. I think I also would want to do some of the, you know what, let's be unconventional and add a couple of other florals too. And by other florals, I mean adding our little, like, almost kind of like delphiniums or something, the taller looking florals. Now this is me going rogue. I had planned something and now I've decided I'm going and doing something else. So I'm mixing some of my violet to get that similar hue that we have up there. And I'm mixing it with the Madder Lake. And let's just see what we get. So I'll do a couple strokes here. It's going to be very tiny, minimal. So we'll do a couple of strokes just here. And I'm just doing, they should almost look like leaves. And I'm doing a few here. And then it just tapers off to like one or two. And now once I have that, I'm going to go in with my number 8. And with just water on it, I want to create the same, it's too much water. I want to do the same shapes that I did to create this on there, but I'm touching the edges of some of them to get that nice flowy effect. And I'm continuing with that same technique, and it's kind of going up. And there we go. I've done this several times if you've done any of my other tutorials, so this is nothing new for those who've been following for a while. Now I'm just going to take my number 8 Princeton, and I'm going to get a little bit of our umber green. And using just the tip of this, I'm just going to add a couple of lines on the inside here of this floral to kind of indicate it's got branches. And these flowers are on the branches. There we go. Pretty. I love it. I like it. Leaving it as is. What I didn't do was I didn't add a couple of dots here and there. So just going to do that right now, and then we can do this in one more area and then do some berries, and I think we are good. So great, we're going to follow the exact same thing that we did here, and I'll do that over on this end. And same thing, you're creating little leaves, okay, and you're spacing them out, and then you're starting wide at the bottom and then you're tapering at the top, right? And then finally you're going in with the number 8, and with just water on it, not too much water, you're creating the same shapes, and you're drawing from the color that you've laid down right now. And that's why time is of the essence. So don't paint this and then kind of go get the lasagna out of the oven or the bread patty. I'm talking to you. You should get this right away. It's a joke, guys. I know none of you would do that. But yeah, so you see how nice and faint it is, and the colors are just kind of running in. Super pretty. And then we're finally going to go in and add our little green in there just to kind of have it blend in as well. Perfect. And I don't want to add too much more. And now we just do our little dots. So I'm just adding a couple of dots here and there because I don't want to spray this with a splatter. I feel like if we just fake the splatter by adding these little dots, it'll be a much nicer effect. So yeah, number 4, Sober Black Velvet, helps with things like this. So there we go. Okay, perfect. We're not doing any more florals. Now we're just going to do the berries. And I think we can just do a couple of berries at the bottom. And yeah. Okay, so we will add, first let's just add the berries. For that I am going to use my Madder Lake. So we're taking the color directly from there. And I'm just going to do, I want them to be smaller in comparison to all the florals here. So I'm going to try really hard to get that. So as I'm creating these little berry shapes, I'm trying to give it some direction and also leaving some white space in between. So I don't want to, so it looks loose, if that makes any sense. Mixing some on there. I'm going to get some on here as well, so it can look like it's kind of coming out this way. There we go. So I'm laying down the berries first, and then after we've done this, I will go ahead and do the stems. So I'll do some here too. That one's kind of big, but that's okay. We can still work it. So we've got 3 areas. I think 3 areas is good. So I really like how this has turned out. We might not even choose to attach the berries, but I think I will go ahead and do that because I always feel like otherwise it's missing out. But this is a quite pretty loose picture, if you ask me. So I'm taking the sepia, forgot to mention that. So taking the sepia, using my number 4, taking a nice dark hue of it, and I'm just kind of connecting the berries. And some of the red might kind of get into your sepia, making it look a lot more redder, and that's okay, don't fret about it. I'm just adding a couple of berries with the, in this tone that we have happening, and I think that works as well for the overall picture. So just gonna attach these ones at the top here. And it takes a steady hand-ish, just because my brush, like, you need the super fine strokes more than anything else. So just creating some random dots around the area as I've created them or painted these things in. And yeah, now I'm just fussing, but I think it's essentially done. You can add a couple of more around if you wish, but I think what I would rather do is adding just a couple of green leaves, and for that we can just use our green that we have. So we have some of the green here, and I'm using the number 4 again, so I'm just gonna create a couple of stems around here. So simple leaves, nothing overly complicated. Just like the ones that we normally do in our regular sessions. And I'm just adding some of the dark sepia to the centers so it looks darker. And I mix some of the sepia with my green, so I'm getting like a nice blend of that brown with the green. And if you can leave white space, for sure, you should totally do it. It kind of makes for a nice break. So I'm creating some leaves over here, touching into the petal of the rose. Okay, I'm doing one there because it doesn't look like there's a lot of space to do another one. But yeah, you can just kind of feel free to add them wherever you feel you're able to squeeze one in. Maybe I'll just do one to the side this way, just like that. And then I'll just do one on this side here. Still wanted to add one there. Shouldn't have added it, but it's okay. Owning the mistake. All right, great. So we have this and it's almost done. I just need to do one more thing and then we have done our pretty little ornament. Okay, two more things actually. The first thing I want to do is I want to highlight the rose again. So remember we were talking about kind of going in after it's dried and giving it one more kind of layer. This is it. So I'm going to get some of the color that we had previously mixed. I'm mixing some more of the red to hopefully get like a nice brighter pop. And then we're going to go to the center and kind of add that in. So now as I'm adding it in, I'm seeing that the pop isn't as much as I would normally have liked it to be, kind of like what I showed you in this one. So, but I still don't mind it. Like I'm sure it's going to dry off and it's going to give that nice little monochromatic hue. But if you want something stark like this, I would say mix in some black, because that's what I did to get that rose. So mix in some black with the red as you're kind of laying it down is my 2 cents if you want something starker. And I'm just kind of adding a couple of strokes here and there to kind of enhance this. And you see how it just makes the rose pop on another level. Now I've washed off the color, and with just water, I'm just smoothing out the last bit. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to do anything else. To the rose, that is. One last thing, I want to make sure that this little crack in the piece of wood is a lot more prominent. And so I'm going to use the number 4 to get some of the sepia. And I am going to add that line that I drew in. But it needs to be like super thin. And I don't know if I can do it, but we'll see. I think I did a good job. Not bad. Okay, great. So that, and I lied to you because there's one more thing I'm noticing that we didn't do, and that is giving this little area a little bit of a shadow. So I'm just doing a little kind of half moon shape below this ribbon. And this way you can tell like, oh, there's a shadow. That's the whole, this is where the ribbon is kind of going in. All right, and that is it, guys. I'm just smoothing out the top bit so it doesn't look too dark. And there we go, we are done. So I hope you guys like this. Let me know in the comments, hit the like button, share in your social media circles. Do everything that you can do to get this out there if you like this. And my hope is that now that you've learned how to do like the wooden outer bit, you can create a couple of them and do your own insides. Like you can do the florals, you could do the mistletoe, check out any of the other tutorials and kind of add your own little thing on the inside, right? And make it your own. So I like it. Hope you guys liked it too. I'm just going to look at the comments really quickly. Pamela, oh my gosh, that's so cute. Listening to me in the car. Talk about being dedicated. Well, I hope I didn't disappoint. Patty, bread tomorrow. Okay, good. Okay, I wasn't sure if you were baking today since it's Sunday. Hi, Pauline. Thank you. Third Eye Open, thank you. You definitely should try it. I found it very satisfying to do. And I don't normally say that, I guess, because sometimes it stresses me out, but I really enjoyed the session. It was just very easygoing and was simple, and we kind of just went with the flow. It's stuff we've done in the past, so it was like easier to do too, right? Thanks, Janet. Thank you, everyone. Okay, great. The poinsettias, yes. So please do remember the poinsettias are there as well, so you can absolutely try these on the inside here if you're not much of the rose fan. But yeah, keep it holiday-like, and let's see where it goes. So thanks so much for joining, guys. Let me know on Facebook and Instagram what you guys thought. Share your work with me. I love seeing it. I love sharing it with my crowd and my followers. And it's always inspirational for me to kind of see your work. So thanks so much. And before I take off really quickly, I just want to let everyone know, thanks so much for your pre-orders for the calendar. But just letting you know that they are pre-orders, and so you will be getting them in the mail, I think in the next week, because they are going into production soon. But one really cute feature that I added to them was adding the QR code for the respective tutorial, and I was like super excited by that, because I was like, hey, maybe it could be on your desk, and one day you're like, I want to paint something. So most of them have them. The Christmas cake or the holiday cake obviously doesn't, because this was never a tutorial. But if you guys really like this and you let me know in the comments, I can totally make this happen. So let me know. And yeah, thanks so much for joining me, guys. Happy Sunday. And we will chat soon. All right, just going to say one last bye.